Performance anxiety sucks. So you have the opportunity to enjoy intimacy and sex with someone, whether it's someone you're just getting to know and you're on a date, or your long-term partner. But your stupid brain rears up and gets in the way. You start thinking about, what if I don't respond physically? What if I can't perform? What if I can't please my partner? Your palms get sweaty, your heart's beating fast, and it's in your stomach, and you're definitely not having fun. This is performance anxiety. And performance anxiety can develop for many reasons. Maybe you have some past traumatic sexual experiences. Maybe you're just inexperienced. Maybe you have generalized anxiety and a lack of self-esteem and self-confidence. And that consumes you when you're naked and vulnerable in bed with someone that you care about. Many of the men whom I work with develop performance anxiety in conjunction with a porn-induced sexual dysfunction. Because if you have tried to have sex many times and found yourself physically incapable because of PIED, the erectile dysfunction, or it's gone wrong for one of the other sexual dysfunctions that are pornography-induced, then you have many memories of experiences in the bedroom, intimacy, that went wrong, where maybe you disappointed your partner or you disappointed yourself. It was embarrassing, it was awkward. And when you have all those associations built up with sex, it's difficult not to have some anxiety when another opportunity for sex comes. Here's a letter from one man. Thank you, Noah, for your inspiring reply to my previous message. I understand now that no FAP, no porn is a way of life. I think I have pretty much been rebooted, as I can get erections now from kissing and hugging, etc. But I am afraid that performance anxiety has taken over now, due to the last unsuccessful attempts for sexual intercourse. Once I am about to have sex, anxiety and stress really possess me, and I immediately lose my erection. I have pretty much told my girlfriend the truth, but I still don't get an erection. Please help me. I really love my girlfriend, and I don't want to lose her. So while these guys might not have started with performance anxiety, and maybe have heard from their doctors or from the internet that if they are physically healthy and there's nothing physically wrong, that must be the root cause of their impotence. Well, it probably was not the root cause if they had porn-induced sexual dysfunction, but it might now be what's holding them back from having and enjoying satisfying, successful sex once they've rebooted and recovered physically and neurologically from the porn-induced sexual dysfunction. And many of these guys might find themselves able to be turned on and aroused physically and emotionally while they're sitting on the couch making out, but once the clothes come off and they go into the bedroom, they lose that arousal because now the pressure's on, and now they're not just focused on having fun anymore, they're all up in their heads worrying and stewing in anxiety. And that is something that is going to definitely get in the way of having a good time, and that's what sex and intimacy should be about. Mutual enjoyment, pleasure. And anxiety can also have some other effects physically on the body. For some people, it means that they can't get aroused, they can't get erect. For other guys, it might mean premature ejaculation, because anxiety can have that effect. Maybe they're able to achieve an erection, or maybe it's difficult to achieve an erection, but they can halfway sort of do it. But once they start being stimulated physically, they might reach ejaculation very quickly. And why does this happen? Well, looking at it from an evolutionary perspective, if you're turned on and trying to have sex, but you're also anxious and afraid, it might be because of some actual physical hazard, like you're out there on the savannah and there's a pride of lions a few hundred yards away, but you're trying to get it on with your partner. And evolutionarily speaking, it'd be more advantageous for you to fertilize quickly and then move on and get to safety. So that might explain why anxiety can have that effect on some guys. And when performance anxiety does get to the point where it really does stop you from performing at all, from achieving an erection and maintaining an erection and having sex, that's when it really becomes crippling. And it can be a self-serving cycle. You go to have sex, you're nervous about it, you're in your head, and you find yourself physically incapable of that because of the emotions swirling around inside of you. And that reinforces that pattern of sex and dread being associated together. And so the next time that you go to have it, you'll not only be remembering the times when you failed to perform due to porn-induced sexual dysfunction, if that is in your history, but you'll also be remembering the feelings and the shame and the failure of when your anxiety got in the way. Another man. How do I deal with performance anxiety? I get so nervous when I'm about to enter. My heart rate shoots up. My dick fails. Since it happened so many times before, it messed with my confidence and my head is all fucked up. I'm full of frustrations and emotions and doubts. I want to let it all go and heal and be normal for once in my life. I'm so sad. Some days I just sit and cry with no one to talk to. No real friends. What can I do next to deal with this completely? Please help me, Noah. So as you can see with this man, it's not just about having sex. It's about your whole identity and your whole sense of self-esteem and self-confidence. And for many men, that's tied up intricately with their ability to have and enjoy sex and please their partner. And so when that part of their life is not going well, it tends to corrupt and sap the joy out of every other part of their lives. So this really is a complex mental and emotional health issue that deserves to be addressed. So here are some various tips that might help you to overcome your performance anxiety and that have worked with many other guys. Maybe not all of these will apply to you or your situation, but if you use as many of these as possible, you'll give yourself the best possible chance of overcoming this and enjoying intimacy in the future. So the first tip, and the most important probably, is that if you're in a relationship, it's very important to foster a clear and open and comfortable communication dynamic between you and your partner. She or he should know what you're struggling with, what your history is, what you are recovering from if you're recovering from a porn-induced sexual dysfunction, and also what goes on in your head when you're together and trying to be intimate. If you don't share those emotions, then they stay locked up inside. And when they're locked up and secret and hidden, they have more power over you. But when you open up and air that interior world out and shine some light in there and share that burden, it can really help to alleviate the pressure and take the weight off of your shoulders. And if your partner knows what you're recovering from and that it might take a little while to recover and to start enjoying sex and having a physical response to sex and to touch the way that you want to be able to, then that takes the pressure off as well, because you no longer have to fear failure. If you can root out that fear of failure and just decide to enjoy yourselves no matter how your body responds, then you're going to be much better able to just relax, enjoy yourself, follow your desires, and then your erections can catch up. But if all this pressure is on being able to quote unquote perform in a particular instance or within a particular time frame, then that's really going to get in the way of just relaxing and enjoying yourselves. So foster that communication dynamic if you are in a partnership, and even if you're not, if you're trying to have more casual encounters, you don't have to share everything. You don't have to share everything you're going through, but it can help a lot to share some of what is going on inside of you, especially the emotional core. You can say, hey, listen, I find you really attractive, but it's actually been quite a while since I've been intimate with anybody. Or you can say, I've had some negative, painful sexual experiences in the past, and that's why I get sort of nervous when I'm with somebody new, and it can take me a little while to warm up and relax and respond and enjoy myself. So I just want you to know that, but I'm excited to be here with you, and I'm really attracted to you. So I don't want you to think that that's anything to do with me not being enchanted by you and by this experience together. Now, if you start feeling dread or anxiety or fear again, even after having this conversation, this isn't just a one and done conversation. It should be something that you can open back up whenever you start feeling those feelings. So if you're in the middle of intimacy and you start getting all up in your head again, call a timeout and just take a break for a few minutes. Say, hey, sorry, I need to take a break. I'm just noticing that I'm getting all up in my head. I'm having these thoughts. I'm worrying about this. I'm worrying about that. And it's nothing to do with you or anything you're doing wrong. It's just I sometimes get caught in these anxiety loops in my head, and it helps me to share that and to talk about it when it happens. So take a few minutes, talk it out, cuddle, kiss, tickle each other, whatever. And once you're relaxed again and getting aroused again, resume. So feel free to take your time is my next tip. There's no rush. It's not a race. There's no time limit. At least there shouldn't be. And when you feel that space and that freedom to just take your time and set your own pace, that gives you a lot of power. And you don't have to feel forced to, as soon as you're in the bedroom, rip each other's clothes off. Or as soon as you're naked together, be having penetrative sex. We might see scenes like this in movies, many hundreds or thousands of times while growing up, and also in pornography, of course. And all of that BS has built up in our minds to give us false expectations of what these moments should look like. And I'd like you to try sweeping all of that out of your mind. Get rid of those expectations and just be there together. Set your own pace. Follow your own desires is another tip. Forget about what you might think you should be doing, or what you're supposed to do, or what your partner might expect you to do, and instead allow yourself to listen to your own internal desires. Kiss your partner how you want to kiss them. Touch them how you want to touch them. If you want to take a break and wrestle for a while, or read each other books or whatever, do it. There's no rules here. I mean, there are some rules, of course. Respect consent and other boundaries, and have good communication. Don't cross your partner's boundaries, and be safe. But aside from that, there are no rules except the rules that you make. So it's fine to be in the bed together naked for hours without having sex. And if you allow yourself that and give yourself that permission, you're going to relax at some point during that time. Just talk, laugh, joke with each other, tell each other stories, get used to being naked with each other. And sometime in those several hours, more than likely, you're going to get physically aroused. And then you're in a good position to take advantage of that if both of you want to. Don't use memories of pornography as a benchmark to look up to, especially if you've developed a porn-induced sexual dysfunction in your life. You've probably watched hundreds or thousands of hours of pornography, but it's not a realistic portrayal of what sex should be. And those performers usually not having as good of a time as it looks like they are anyway. And like the bodies and the body parts, it all looks very different from what the average human looks like, and from what the average sexual encounter might look and feel like. So a lot of guys can develop body image issues watching pornography, seeing guys who might have chiseled bodies with 6 packs and 10-inch penis or whatever, and look at themselves and think, well, I don't measure up, and feel ashamed or embarrassed when they take off their clothes and they're naked with somebody. If you can sweep all of that out of your mind and just remind yourself that your partner, whoever you're with, wouldn't be here with you if they weren't attracted to you, then you can free yourself up just to think about having fun and to focus less on yourself and your own body and your own internal monologue, and bring yourself into that moment. Just enjoy being in that moment with your partner. Ask good questions. Communication is key. You might have prior sexual experience with exes, with other partners, and you might think that you're hot stuff and you know how to please a partner. But every individual is different. Everyone's body is different. Everyone's desires are different. You could treat your new partner the exact same way that you treated and touched your old partner, and that made her or him go crazy. But this new partner does nothing for them, or they're like, oh, what are you doing? And that's because we're each different, and you can't take a playbook from one relationship or one partnership and bring it into the next. So ask good questions. Do you like this? Would you like me to go faster or slower, or be more gentle or harder? Would you like me to touch you in any specific way? Does this work for you? What do you want? What do you fantasize about? When you ask these questions and actually talk about sex and intimacy, you give yourselves the chance to get to know each other and be able to bring each other pleasure and joy and satisfaction. And you can't really do that without some verbal communication. And you should pay attention to the nonverbal cues as well, and watch your partner, read your partner, see if what you're doing is pleasing to them, or if it's exciting to them, or if they're maybe unsure. And when you notice that maybe they're unsure, pause, have some verbal communication, ask good questions. Learn about mindfulness. The last video I made was about mindfulness and mindfulness meditation and training. And this is really a tool that can apply to any aspect of your life, but it can definitely help you in the bedroom, because mindfulness is all about recognizing what's going on in your head and being able to choose not to engage with it and just to allow it to float on by right out of your head, bringing your focus and your attention back to the present moment and the task at hand. So that skill in this situation, when struggling with performance anxiety, can allow you to recognize what's happening and to just allow that observed anxiety to float on out of your head as you refocus on enjoying yourself and practicing mindfulness in the present moment. Or you can, when you notice that, make the choice to do one of the other tips we talked about. Remind yourself that you can take it slow, open up communication, call a timeout, that sort of thing. So check out my last video about mindfulness and start practicing mindfulness in your daily life, and then bring it into the bedroom in these situations. If you lose your erection or your arousal mid-sex, don't worry about it. Take a break. Just see it as your body's cue. Oh, I'm going to take a break for a few minutes. If you get all messed up about it and you're ashamed, or you're thinking, oh, not again, like what's going on? And you get all bent out of shape and you're maybe embarrassed in front of your partner because you haven't talked to your partner about this might happen, then it probably means an end to the fun. But if you just take it in stride and be like, oh, okay, I'm going to take a break for a few minutes, hold each other, laugh, chat, tell stories, whatever, go get a drink. You allow yourself 5 or 10 minutes later, when you're relaxed again, and then you start kissing again, to become aroused again and resume sex. So take that in stride. Don't get bent out of shape about it, and you'll give yourself the chance to continue having a good time. Understand that you have no conscious control over your erections. And this is the last tip I'll share today. Many guys, they try to step in and take that role of like actively willing an erection to happen. Maybe they'll try to fantasize and try to force it by remembering things that have aroused them in the past. And this can kind of sort of work sometimes, but it really is counterproductive in this journey, because an erection is an automatic response, like sweating when you're hot. It's not something that you should try to consciously take control of. And when you do, you tend to get in the way more than you help things along. It's your job to have a good time, to focus on making your partner laugh, on having a fun experience. And when you accept your job and focus on your job, you get out of the way of your body doing its job and reacting appropriately in those moments of intimacy. And it will take some time to build up trust again in your body that it will react in the way that you want it to, that you will have physical arousal and will be able to enjoy satisfying sex without having to worry about it working. But you can start that process by choosing to surrender that control and just get out of the way, and to understand that the quality of your erections doesn't have to determine the quality of your intimate time together. When you have this understanding between you and your partner, you can decide to have a great time and a great bonding experience no matter what your physical response is. So those are my tips for performance anxiety. And this is from a perspective of a coach who works with people with porn-induced sexual dysfunctions. But these tips apply to people who have performance anxiety based on other factors as well. So if you'd like to get personal help from me, you can always find me at addictedtointernetporn.com. And I also run a support and discussion group that I started a few months ago. We meet weekly. We have several meeting times, And it's just a place for people who are struggling with these sorts of issues, pornography addiction, sexual dysfunctions, to have sort of a mastermind group, a support and discussion group of people who are going along similar paths. So you can feel like you're not so alone in forging ahead and healing on this journey. It's helped many of the guys who have participated quite a lot. So I'm excited to offer that as an option for you all as well. And you can discover more about that again on my website, addictedtointernetporn.com. I'll see y'all next time. Have a wonderful PMO-free day.